Hello, hello. BRIE here for the Cash Confident podcast, talking to all the powerhouse ladies in this world. And today we're going to talk about how scarcity can be a great ally in your pursuit of next level wealth and abundance. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what my journey with scarcity was like and where I'm at. And so that way you have some context for this journey. So what scarcity is the fear of lack. So when we see anything, there's always the abundance that is there and the lack of what is not. And a truly, truly abundant life is perfectly curated between what is there and what is not, right? And so I'm going to just ground this for a second. So that may be a calendar that has just enough work, just enough play, just enough free time, just enough, time to have nothing. Right. And we all know the spaciousness of having nothing in our calendar. Right. And so that's that lack that's wonderful. And when we think about a really well-designed, beautiful space, the pieces that are there are perfect. They're the right pieces. We have everything that we want and nothing that we don't. And there is white space. There's empty spaces in those rooms. There are clear tabletops and there are clear, furniture bits, and not everything is too full. And so that curation that's the truth of abundance, is a perfectly curated life where it's everything that you want and nothing that you don't. That's the pinnacle, right? And so lack in and of itself is wonderful. Lack, when we're afraid of it, creates scarcity. And in the body, when we see something and we feel like there's not enough, it registers as danger in our body. It registers as, if it's around money specifically, it registers as threat of starvation. Your body picks up that signal of lack and it turns it into fear, because your body's like, oh my word, she doesn't have enough resources. She's going to die if we don't get something together. In this old school hardware, because we're working with brain hardware that hasn't really made much evolution in the last 10,000 years, gives you the energy and the focus to go literally hunt down some dinner, to literally go get off your butt and to go get some. I'm not joking. I'm talking about like literally that response is for you to be able to go hunt something. Now in today's day and age, in today's world, that is unhelpful, because you're responding to like, oh, maybe I'm going to have to, make a car payment late, or maybe I'm going to have to, adjust my grocery budget to, as a level of problem that you're solving. And you're feeling that in your body, like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And so when scarcity is unconscious, and this is our first stage of relationship with scarcity, is when scarcity is unconscious, it will run amok. And so if you've taken, I have a course called Plenty, which is a little master class. But it explains about how to start to become conscious of your relationship with scarcity. And so to get to this stage of your relationship with scarcity, we want to understand, all right, so scarcity has a physiological response, and then scarcity also very, very quickly shows up in behaviors. And so what I've noticed is people are like, what can I do? What can I do when they're in scarcity? And they take a lot of action. And so for some people, that may be doing things like hoarding their money, paying their bills late, not paying their bills at all. For some people, they're going to run up their credit cards. Some people are going to add a lot of complexity to their financial situation to avoid future scarcity, which actually that method does none of what I'm talking about works to keep you out of scarcity, because now we're taking actions from scarcity that create more scarcity. Going and stocking up. Sometimes people who are even not in scarcity, when they have money, they'll go and they'll treat it like they're going to be in scarcity later. So they'll take all their money out of their bank accounts, go to Costco, buy everything, stock up, but they have no money now, and now they have to depend on the reserves, right? And so they create that situation. And so that unconscious place of scarcity, that's the first place that you can really start to manage that relationship, when you start to be like, oh, I do this. Oh, what can be done differently? Then from there, you can learn how to manage that, because now you've made that unconscious scarcity conscious. Now from here, this is the place where you can do some mindset work, right? And listen, I'm going to tell you very, very plainly, listen to me very carefully. You will not get rid of scarcity as a mindset, because one, your brain is programmed to see lack, and that is a survival feature, and your body is programmed to respond to that lack with the energy to get you out of that situation. And so this is a survival feature. And if you learn how to harness it, which I'm going to get to in a few moments, this can be really, really helpful in making really, really fast growth. It's when scarcity is unconscious and running amok that it's detrimental to your life and to your financial well-being. When scarcity is unconscious and just running through your life, that's where it makes a mess. When you can be aware of scarcity and you're like, oh, hey girl, you're here again. What are we up to today? Because scarcity, there's a lot of benefits. So this next phase of scarcity is learning how to manage yourself through scarcity. And so this is the place where you can start to be like, oh, all right, I'm noticing there's a lot of scarcity in my body. What's going on? All right. Then you can start to learn how to like manage like if you get into a full-on panic about money, you need to let that out of your system. You need to raise your heart rate, do something so that way that fight or flight response can close, that stress loop can close. And then you need to learn to modify your behaviors in scarcity, where you're like, oh, I can feel myself really feeling the urge to go to Costco and buy 10,000 cans of tomatoes, because winter is coming. And just be like, all right, let me just not take immediate action on this. And you can start to see start to be conscious with your scarcity, start to see how it feels in your body, start to see how it shows up for you. And that's the place that you can decide. You have the power to choose. Oh, I'm feeling myself being in scarcity and I'm going to choose to pay my bills anyways, even though I'm afraid. I'm going to choose to not go to Costco. I'm going to choose to keep the money in my bank account, even though I'm afraid of future scarcity, right? And you can start to choose to do things differently. Now, for most people, that's where they get with scarcity, and that's a vast improvement. That is really wonderful work. That is the difference. I've had clients that come see me that are making all these decisions in scarcity. They stop doing that, and then their situation improves. I've seen clients save $10,000 and $20,000, $30,000 in a year. I've seen clients pay off credit card debts, very, very quickly, reduce their expenses very, very quickly. This is tremendous, tremendous work. All right. And so for some people, that's good enough. And that's where they can learn how to manage themselves through scarcity. And that's cool. But for the people who are really growing and expanding, the people who are really chasing exponential wealth, the people who are, scaling their business or even in their corporate career, going beyond, 6 figures into multiple 6 and 7 figures, scarcity can be such a great friend and an ally. And here's why. Is where scarcity really helps is it does provide some laser focus. Because what happens when our body gets into scarcity is there's the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that does a lot of big thinking, stops getting so much glucose. And so if you've been in overthinking patterns for a very long time, the scarcity can really help you to take some action. Now, scarcity also comes with a really big boost of physical energy. And so there's a lot of motivation to go do something, to take action. And scarcity is already dealing with the threat of literal death. And so it is ballsy. You can do some things with a little scarcity fire underneath your rumpus that you can just not do. Or scarcity really helps. Maybe you could do it, but scarcity is a little ballsy. It's a little brave. It's there's some courage in there because your body feels like you're already dealing with the threat of death. So here's how to make scarcity your ally. Scarcity being your ally is really, really great when you have something that you can focus on doing. Where scarcity gets real awry is when you get that feeling in your body, that intense amount of motivation, and you don't know what to do with it. Now, this is where I will see people. I'm going to give you an example. I had a client once who is in sales, and her pipeline had been dry. Her market had been shook up by just some things that happened, outside of her immediate control. And she got into this scarcity cycle. And one day I talked to her the day after she did this, so I didn't get to help her with it. She spent the entire day in her scarcity, combing through her transactions and looking for things to cut off. And that is direction that is going to create more scarcity, because these are services that she uses, right? And so she spent an entire day fretting to save $75 a month. Okay, where she could have taken that exact same focus and done an entire day of prospecting, because that had the seed, she could have planted the seeds to yield tens of thousands of dollars. But instead, that scarcity got, all of that action, all of that motivation and that momentum she directed in the direction toward smallness, when she could have directed it in the direction toward, future success. And so this is really important. So when you are really, really clear on where you're going, and that scarcity comes, that fear that it's not going to be enough comes, if you can focus on the thing that you want and the thing where you're going, and really, this does require some mental discipline. So this is something I'm going to teach you, but it does require some practice. And so when I'm working with my clients in Limitless Wealth, part of the work that we do there is we're building up these mental and emotional like muscles, right? Because your mind has to be trained. Your emotions can be trained is probably not the exact word for your emotions, but the mind can be trained and the emotions can be corralled, maybe is a better way to put it. I mean, these are things that we can learn to do. So when you have the skill set to be able to be like, oh, this is where I'm going, this is what I want this, and then that scarcity comes and gives you the motivation to go and do it. And it also, because your brain shuts down, it literally doesn't, if you get your scarcity mind locked onto something, because it's there to help you to get locked onto that deer. That's what it's there for. It's just, we don't know how to use it for that. So then you have all of that energy and that momentum and that courage to go do that thing. So scarcity can really, really help you to move super, super fast when you have something that is definite for you to focus on. And so in last week's episode, we talked about alignment between the desires, the goals, the wealth identity, the money mindset, and the money management. And so when you're in alignment with those things and you know exactly where you're going, scarcity can really, really be a great ally to go take a tremendous amount of action on the thing that you want. Because this is what I'm noticing with my clients, but as that glucose stops going to so much of the prefrontal cortex, if you can stay focused on the thing, you're kind of in tunnel vision. I mean, that's why scarcity. So listen, if you're facing in the wrong direction, it's very difficult to get out of scarcity, because that tunnel vision helps you, or it prevents you from seeing other opportunities. It really does. I'll see people take action in scarcity and I'm like, there's a little better way to solve that. But when you're in scarcity, you cannot see it. Like literally can't see it. So when people make decisions from scarcity, they're literally doing their best, but so much of their brain is shut down that they don't see other possible solutions. So a lot of times when people really make a mess in scarcity, they'll be like, I felt like this was the wrong choice, but it was the only thing that I could do. They will say things, I didn't have a choice. It was the only thing that I could do. Right. And so this is how we can direct scarcity to create more scarcity. But if you know where you're going, that scarcity will, like, it's almost like chase you and nip at your heels and remind you and bother you and be like, go do that thing, go make your phone calls, go show up, go do the thing, And so when you're going in the direction, that scarcity is like a dog that would come with you hunting. But when you're going in the wrong direction, that dog is going to chase you around and bother you. And so what I would encourage you to do the next time you're in scarcity is to really meet yourself there. Really be like, oh, hey, scarcity, you're here. What do you see? Like, where could we go? What's the thing to focus on? What are the things to not focus on? And if you're totally undisciplined, if you're starting from brand, like if when I said unconscious scarcity and you're like, oh my word, I do all that, there's some work to do before you're probably going to get to this level, because there's a lot of awareness and there's a lot of self-management that you'll have to practice, like that whole second and third part of, or, the first and second part of what I talked about today. So be gentle with yourself as you do this. But once you have a decent amount of self-awareness, scarcity can be such an ally to help get you out of a sticky situation, because you're using it at that point. You're using that fear for what it's for. You're using that fear to get you to your next level. You're using that fear to, in in this world that we live in, you're not going to go hunt a deer, but maybe you're going to go get that next client. Maybe you're going to go, pitch those things. Maybe you're going to use that motivation that scarcity comes with to go do the thing. And so this is why this is really, really important. And then we also want to train our minds to see the abundance in things. So that way, one that it's like when you train your mind to see the abundance in everything, you're going to run into less scarcity, and you'll be better able to direct it because you'll be very, very aware of your resources and what you have. Because scarcity can also blind you to the resources that you have. Sometimes I will see people buying things they've already got, literally hiring for things that they've already got covered in their businesses, and doing some really interesting things because they, in that frame of scarcity, they don't have all their tools. So some of what I'm talking about, the amazing gifts of scarcity, they do need to be, you also need to mentally be prepared. So like having a gratitude or having this practice is phenomenal for this. Looking at everything that's going right, looking at what's done, having a clear plan of action, kind of ready to go in your life. These are things that that will really help you to like pinpoint how to focus that scarcity to really give you a great propellant to the next level. All right. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope you love this talk. I hope you don't, you're not fighting with your scarcity, that you're kind of seeing it. You're like, ooh, a ballsy energy boost in a perfect direction where I'm not going to be overthinking because part of my brain is going to be shut down. Like, to me, that's not the worst place to be when I have somewhere to go. Where it's terrible is when I don't know what to do. That's when I'll spin in a circle. That's where I'll make a mess. But also, once you realize that you're like, oh, scarcity could be a great asset, a great ally in my pursuit of impact, of wealth, of well-being. How can I use this moment? How can I use all of this energy? Because scarcity may stay with you for a good few hours. It may stay with you for a good couple hours. So how can I use this energy best is a really, really great way to turn what could be like a derailing, clusterfuck of a situation into something that's really, really highly impactful. And so I'm seeing this with my clients, using scarcity as an ally. And it's just like a little power up, a little boost. So if you are listening to this and you're curious about the work that I'm doing in Limitless Wealth, you can go ahead and there's show notes that will have a link to my calendar, and we can talk about Limitless Wealth for you. And Limitless Wealth is for powerhouse women going beyond 6 figures, towards 7 figures. And I would love to talk to you about that. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. You're beautiful, smart, and amazing. And I will talk to you next week. It was my pleasure and joy to talk with you today. Thank you for listening. If you found value in our conversation, I kindly ask you to share the show with a friend who deserves to unleash her financial power. Your feedback is so, so valuable to me. So please take a moment to leave a review. Together, we can amplify the message and bring more money into the hands of good women. For ongoing guidance and unwavering support on your financial journey, I invite you to join the Cash Confident community. Visit www.cashconfident.com/join to become part of our powerful community of women, where we uplift and inspire one another to reach new heights of financial success. Remember, you possess the power to shape your financial destiny. And with the Cash Confident podcast and the support of our remarkable community, you are unstoppable. Embrace your financial power, create the life you desire, and let's ignite a movement of cash confident women who are transforming the world $1, one decision at a time.